What's going on, everybody? This video is our live stream from a few days ago on Twitter with all the Piston beat writers. I had myself on there, like I said, the Piston beat writers. We had a few other Piston Twitter guys that write for various different sites. We all hopped on one, Zoom call? No, Skype call, and we all sat there and talked Pistons. We had a couple of fun questions. The live stream was messed up a little bit. You couldn't really understand the audio. But our friend Khahil recorded his own video version, and it comes through all clear. So I'm going to upload that here now. So yeah, that's all I want to let you guys know. I hope you guys enjoy it. And if you guys want to see something like that again, go ahead and let me know in the comment section down below. I can try to orchestrate something like this with different people. If you guys have anybody in particular you guys want to see, like all in a group call together, let me know in the comment section below. But besides that, I hope you guys enjoy. Oh, and the recording starts in the middle of a conversation about how this coronavirus and everything going on in the world right now is affecting all these various writers, how hard it is for them to come up with things to write about, yada, yada, stuff like that. So that's what you're picking up from right here. This is what Rod's going to be talking about when you guys first listen to. So once again, thank you guys, and I hope you guys enjoy.
So this is a really odd time in our respects of trying to figure out what we want to do. You can think out the box a little bit more. You can do some stories that your editors may not have green-lighted years before, because this is a difficult time. You can only do so much of the stuff that we've seen out here of the 10 best Pistons teams of all time or 10 best draft picks of all time. There's only so many of those you can do. So you can think out the box a little bit, and your sources in general are going to be available.
Can I interject? As a guy who just recently left what Rod and James are doing, and Omari can start off with this, I'm curious to know, is in this time where your sports have been taken away from you, do you feel like a pressure to produce stuff? Because of, obviously, we know legacy media, even though Athletic is a little bit different, obviously, than what the Detroit Free Press and the Detroit News are going through. Do you guys feel a pressure to produce content now to show value or show worth? That's one thing I'm curious about. And that's probably something that if we were all together like we used to be, that we'd be talking about. So I'm just curious to know how you guys feel about that. What's going on with you guys there?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit different for me since, this is only my second week on the job. And I think whenever you switch jobs, you kind of feel that natural pressure to produce anyway and kind of show people what you can do and show what you're about. It's definitely been different, given that when I accepted the job, I expected that I would have 4 or 5 home games left and a couple road games, and then from there you prepare for the off season and everything else, and it would aid the transition a little bit. And there's been none of that, but kind of going back to Rod's point, even though I'm doing everything kind of by phone and video and whatnot, I found that people are a little bit more accommodating than normal because people do have more time on their hands. And frankly, I think everybody's bored. And, something I may have annoyed you 2 months ago is now like, yeah, please give me something to do. Give me some anything to talk about. So in that response, it's been okay. But yeah, I mean, I think people want stuff to read. I think it gives you an opportunity to think outside the box a bit, maybe try something that you wouldn't otherwise try. If I were still on the Grizzlies, there are certainly a few ideas that I'll be tackling right now. And now that I'm on the Pistons, I still know the Detroit area. I kind of know what's going on. So depending on how this goes on, I'll probably be able to do some of those things. So I guess we'll just see.
James?
Okay, do we have Khahil here? Oh, sorry.
James.
We're having audio issues.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I was asking your perspective on that question I asked Omari.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think how to answer. I mean, do I feel pressure to produce content? I mean, yeah, just because it's our job and that's what we're paid to do. I guess it's not. I don't know how to say it. Like I think for the Athletic, we're in a position where kind of what we hang our hat on, this is the perfect time for that. So instead of maybe getting lost in the middle of a season and you think people want to know about the day-to-day stuff and you get lost in that and you start doing that and you kind of forget, like, there might be bigger picture things you can tackle now. It's obviously that's the most clear and obvious thing to do. So I think it's just made, again, like I said, it's kind of like the offseason. It's kind of just made the priority a little more single focused, and you kind of know exactly what you should tackle and what you have time to do and stuff like that.
Sorry to hijack it, guys. I had my own question, because a lot of my days are spent when I'm not doing my new duties thinking about how I would handle the current situation. So just curious.
You need hobbies.
Or kids.
Or kids.
You'd be surprised at how busy my new duties are keeping me. But I'm here for the jokes, though. I know I sold out. I get it. I understand.
All right, let's jump into some more Piston talk here. And Koo, are you with us, brother? Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. All right.
What's going on?
Can we talk about that Ravens?
Okay.
I got a blue voice on now, so.
He got his Derrick Rose love showing right now. So.
All right, so Koo, let's hit you first with this. We're going to kind of talk about Pistons offseason a little bit here. What direction do you see Tom Gores going with this offseason? Do you think he's going to try and nab players for a rebuild or go to the retool route and look for some win-now guys? What do you think, Koo?
I think they've decided to go rebuild now. I'd be shocked if they made any moves that would suggest any kind of winning now. Other than some Pistons, I talked about this a little bit with Vince on when he came onto my show, but
that was fun.
It was fun. It was. So I talked about it a little bit with Vince on our show, but I know a lot of Pistons fans consider Christian Wood the second coming of Jesus. So I know if we re-sign him, they might be considering that like a move to become a contender. But I don't expect him to be. I'm not expecting the Pistons to make any type of moves that suggest any kind of idea of trying to win a lot next year.
Okay, who else? Who else thinks about the question? Anyone got anything?
Yeah, they're pretty firmly in rebuild mode. Drummond got traded. Reggie got bought out, and now he's with the Clippers. And they got a good deal for Blake, assuming Blake gets healthy. And I'm sure they will move him as well. So firmly in rebuild mode. Then I would be surprised if they made a move that was sort of the halfway. Maybe we could gun for the 7th seed next year. I think they're going to tear this thing down if they can.
And I would add a name to watch. Definitely, you can see it happening. Luke Kennard. I mean, they might have traded him if he wasn't healthy. I think he may have gotten traded at the trade deadline if he was healthy. So I think that would indicate a willingness to see what life is like on the other side, away from this current group of players. I think that's a good indicator of the fact that Luke's name came up in trade rumor.
Yeah, and I'd say outside of Christian Wood, who might get a longer-term deal, I don't think anybody else is going to get a 3-4 year deal at all. I think everything is going to be short-term just to try to bide their time until they can get to that 2021 summer and 2022 where they'll be able to jump back in and go after some of those bigger name guys and at least try. All you can do is try and throw the bag at somebody and see if they take it. But I don't think anything this summer is going to be super impactful beyond giving Christian Wood what his market value is going to be.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if they just do their due diligence and throw a bag at somebody like Brandon Ingram just to see what happens, or what's my guy from Minnesota?
Your guy.
From that just left the Nuggets. What is his name?
Malik Beasley.
Malik Beasley, guys like that, young guys, just to see what happens. But
that's right. He's a guy that I remember. I remember them liking him. Yeah, that's a good name, James, to throw out there.
Yeah, no, and Malik's a good player, and they're probably, if they wanted to get him, they probably have to overpay. But I just don't. His timeline kind of similar to Luke doesn't really fit with where they're going.
And he's cheaper now, right?
He's a restricted free agent this summer, so they'd have to. Yeah.
He had a bad year though, compared to last season.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I would say you look at his numbers, 38, 39 from three, and finishes around the rim. The Pistons don't really have that. Don't have that player.
He might show a need.
And the funny thing about it, how guys play better when the ball's in their hands and actually assured playing time. Getting minutes for Denver is kind of tough. So,
right, which is why I worked it out.
Somebody's got to make that money somewhere. There's a salary floor in addition to a salary cap.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay,
Duncan,
so
you're gonna say something?
Go ahead.
Duncan, you're gonna say something?
Nope.
Okay.
I don't know. No. I think I said yep in agreement to something. I'm good. Carry on, Dustin.
You don't know quite what it was, but hey, yeah. I agree. I'm down.
Yeah.
Yup.
Only go.
All right. So I'm going to give you guys each the Estebanski roll here. What is your number for Christian Wood if you're going to offer him a contract this offseason? What are you going to go with?
Cool. Get in here, Cool.
He said Christian Wood, not Bruce Brown, Cool.
Cool.
Oh, you trust me, I heard him.
They know about that, Cool.
Who's calculating the max contract right now for Christian Wood?
He's worried about what Bruce can get. He's thinking about Bruce's next deal.
He's thinking about the mid-level exception. He's thinking and lower. He's talking about the mid-level.
Vince is all hyper over there because I'm pretty loud. I've been pretty loud about this, but I'm not. I'd be hesitant to pay him more than around $10 million.
I want to ask you about that. Why are you the dude averaged 24 and 10, one of the best percentages in the NBA? Why do you not like him?
I didn't say I didn't like him. Don't put that narrative on me, James. I didn't say that.
He has enough narratives already.
It's not that I don't like him. It's that the stretch you're talking about was a very small sample. And the big thing with Christian this year was the fact that he improved his shooting, and he actually was shooting well this year. If you look at his career, like in the NBA, the G League, he wasn't a very good shooter at all. So, like, if this is legit, then good for the Pistons. But, like, I'd be hesitant to pay him over $10 million based off a small sample size and one season of him shooting extremely well.
But I would argue that you give Bruce the same praise for one season of shooting. Okay.
No, and once again, James, don't paint that narrative on me. That's just not true.
That is true. Am I wrong?
No, James.
He give Bruce $15 million right now. James,
in an envelope.
Me pointing out that Bruce improved from trash last year to below average this year doesn't mean that I think that he's a star. It just means that he made a massive leap from where he was last year.
Understand, they exist.
I'm just saying Christian went from trash to Kyle Korver, and you're pushing it to the side.
Is that what happened, though? Because, like, once again, you're talking about a small stretch, and even if you take that stretch, like, if you just take the whole season into account, he is not a very good playmaker. He still struggles a lot on defense. Dwayne Casey talks about it a lot throughout the entire season, him on defense. So just take into account next year. Let's say we pay him. Next year he shows up. His defense is still an issue. He's still a bad playmaker, but now also the shot regresses. Now what? Now you're paying over 10. Let's say you go over the amount I said. Now you're paying that much for him. Now he's not that good of a shooter anymore.
Get him, James. Get him, James. Get him, James.
That's defensive and playmaking issues.
No, I mean, I see what you're saying. I would just argue that when you're the Pistons, 10 to 12 million for a guy that did what he did is a gamble you have to take.
Yeah, and I'll agree on that they have to pay whatever the market value is going to be. And I'll use market value because there aren't a lot of teams with significant cap space that can pay him more than the mid-level exception. That's where that 10 million number is coming from, is that somewhere around where the mid-level is going to be, the non-taxpayer mid-level is going to be. So the Pistons only have to beat that best offer, assuming that an Atlanta or somebody doesn't go bananas and try to offer him 15 mil. So assuming that that's the case, you're looking somewhere in the 10 to 12 range, probably 15 tops, but I wouldn't go probably 15. And again, you got early bird rights on a guy who has shown enough, I think, to warrant that, and it's not a huge gamble given what some other contracts are going to look like or have looked like in the past couple of years for guys with lesser talent and lesser production.
I also question how many teams are going to want to make a move for Christian Wood in a draft that has probably 3 guys are going to go top 10 who look like true centers. You know, you have, like, of course, James Wiseman, being the best of those guys. The Hawks were in the market for a center, and then they went and got Clint Capella. The Cavs just traded for Drummond. I don't know how strong the center market's going to be, in a draft that, is pretty much almost all guards and centers. I think I would go up to 12 or 13 for Christian Wood, and if some random team goes above that, then I'm probably pretty comfortable walking. Because if the Pistons really want a center, they could draft one too. I'm not sure if that should be their main priority, but but there are guys out there. I'm just not sure that. I think Christian Wood's going to be good, but I certainly wouldn't go above 12 or 13 if the market dictates that its price is, starting at 14.
I actually share Koo's concerns. I'd be hesitant to give him a whole lot north of. I would go a little bit higher than you, but once, as everyone says, like we get above 11 or 12, my concerns would be more from, the stuff that, how would he respond to getting a bag? That's the kind of thing that I'd be worried about. Will he still keep that hunger and that drive to still be a good player and still strive to be a great player? Or will he say, well, I got paid now, so I can maybe revert back to maybe bad habits and stuff? So that would be my concerns with giving him a major bag. But that being said, to James's point and to Rod's point, the whole point of a rebuild and to tear it down to the studs is to get someone with the skill set of a Christian Wood in your program. And they were fortunate enough, because of the waiver claim and stuff they made last summer, to have someone like that under their control. So it's an interesting problem to have, but it's probably one you'd rather have than not have. So,
and one thing I'll add, and me and Hollinger talked about this in that story I wrote, if they can get him for around that $10 million, he only counts 1.7 against the cap. So that's a steal. I mean, that's, what I mean? And you can get a guy that talented for, let's face it, there's worse guys that make more than $12 million. And if you're going to take a gamble on a 24-year-old that can stretch the floor, and if he can gain some weight, like, there's just so many possibilities there. And when you're this team in this position, I understand not overpaying, and I understand why fans would be scared of that, because you see it in the past, but they were overpaying.
Oh, trust me, fans are not scared.
Oh, I would say so. I would say after the Lewis stuff and Ben and Charlie, I think there's fear in overpaying guys, but this is a different situation. It's okay to overpay when you're trying to rebuild.
And in this situation, like I said, if you have no talent, you're still trying to acquire talent, and Christian Wood is the most talented guy. If you want to argue about Sekou's upside or whatever, he's by far the most talented player they have. So, and the whole idea of a teardown is to keep the guys like that around, if you can.
Well, it sounds like at the end of all this, we all disagree with each other. You guys just want to argue with me for no reason, because I said that I would pay. I said I would pay him around $10 million. I didn't say I would just not pay him.
You said
you said he sucks.
No,
I heard he sucks. That's what I heard.
You were killing him. You destroyed him.
It's not destroying him. It's just keeping it real. I mean, those are legitimate concerns I brought up.
Blah, blah. He sucks. That's what I heard.
I heard he's worse than Bruce Brown. That's what I heard.
If Bruce was a free agent, what would you pay Bruce?
This is what happened. Guys, everyone that comes into my mentions now with this BS, I'm directing them straight to your guys' mentions.
Cool. What would you pay Bruce if he was a free agent?
Right now?
Yes.
Not much at all. Like, what is
your number?
I don't know. Whatever it's like, I wouldn't pay a lot at all. Like $3 million, I guess.
Stop lying.
Okay, if somebody came and offered Bruce 5, would you give him 6?
No.
Cool. Look me straight in the face.
I said no.
All right.
See, this is the thing. And this is the thing that James is trying to do here. James, throughout the entire season, was Mr. Pessimist. So now he's trying to flip this around on me. And make me the bad
We're
guy.
not doing it. Cool. I am not a pessimist for wanting a team that hasn't won a playoff game in 12 years to rebuild. I'm sorry. That's not pessimist.
James, that's not. Once again, that's just not what I was talking about. Every day in the media room, he comes in, another day, sits down, and then just all Eeyore like and just pessimist.
It's not much of a team, but it's a team.
It's not pessimism when it's a 20-46 team. That's not pessimism. That's realism. That's realism.
I am around a team that lost 40+ games for the last 3 years every single day. You know what else? It just happens. You just get tired of it.
Kills your spirit.
James has had enough.
All I'm saying is just don't spread that
same emotions every day.
James, you're making Omari so excited. Amari's so excited to be a Pistons beat writer now.
He knows what he's got.
Welcome to the territory.
Yep.
I watched probably 5% of their games from 2009 to about 2014. So, I'm pretty used to watching bad basketball. It's
you lived through before
the glory days.
The glory days.
T-Mac days.
Will Bynum made those teams watchable. That's how bad
Will Bynum, the experience.
Will Bynum made those teams watchable.
God. All right, so let's kind of go into the draft a little bit here. Who are your guys' top targets / who would fit the position, the Pistons' needs best? So, Duncan, LaMelo. I'm Team LaMelo as well. Duncan.
I'm with Omari.
I knew you were going to lead with. I knew you were going to go with me for your draft question, man. Yeah, off the top of my head, I think LaMelo is probably my guy. Most years, most years I don't really pay any attention to the draft or college until the tournament starts, and obviously, we didn't get that this year. So, it's never my strength when we start talking about the draft, but especially one with no NCAA tournament. It's tough. So, from everything that I've read and I've digested, LaMelo is probably my guy if he's gettable wherever the Pistons end up selecting. When the draft lottery finally happens in October or whenever. But yeah, I think LaMelo probably fits what they need better than anybody that they're going to come across. So at this point, without any additional data or information, that's my guy.
Okay. Other thoughts?
I also would go with LaMelo. I don't pay attention much to college at all, except around this time I'd read a lot. I'd read a lot. James, what are you shaking your head about? Can you take it easy? Anyways,
listening to everybody.
I want to hear what James had to say about LaMelo. That's what I'm waiting for.
Actually, James, go ahead. You're shaking your head down there. Go ahead.
Fast forward to that.
I don't know if James' concern is LaMelo. I think it's more of the. I think James is more of the coverage than the.
I don't want to cover that every day. I just don't.
Yeah.
I don't, and he's a good player. I don't know if he fits. Obviously, everybody knows the jump shot. I question if this is a guy that's been too cushioned his whole life, and if he just defensively and the work ethic, I'd just be curious. He's a good player, and if they took him with their pick, that's a smart pick. But I think Killian Hayes fits the timeline. I like Avija. I think he just skill wise could be the best player in the draft. I'm not mad at him. I understand. I personally don't want to have.
Do you?
I don't want to have 80 media people there every day to ask LaMelo about his dad. I like just having us three there. It's fun that way.
It's a job security thing. I get it. It's a job security thing.
One thing I would like to add to what James said. Let's say right now there's no season, and that they wind up picking fifth. I guess they were fifth, right? When I remember correctly with the draft odds. Yeah. Let's say if they stay there, I think it would be a good draft for them if say his name again, the guy, the Israeli kid again, James.
Bija.
If he falls to them at 5, I think that would be a solid pick for them, because I started looking at the draft, and if you look at the situation, a multi-skilled forward who can potentially break down defenses, who can score a little bit, who can play make a little bit, would really be nice to add to their talent collection. If they could get him at 5, if they stay where they are.
Yeah, I agree.
I would also say that I think Tyrese Halliburton is being super duper slept on, and if they ended up with him, I think that would be a great pick. Like, this dude he shot 50% overall, 42% from 3. He's a great passer. He has good size for a point guard, and his team sucked. Like, he was doing everything for that team, and he was still efficient. Like, I'm struggling to see why, he's going between 8 and 13 in a lot of mocks. When to me, I think he could easily be the best point guard in this draft, depending on how things shake out. Like, he doesn't really have a hole in his game. Like, I think if a team raced for him, it would be fine. Like, he's a sure thing to be.
I agree with Halliburton. I think he's got the best combination of things that they're looking for with size and shooting and leadership and vision. I'm not sold on LaMelo Ball in just the things that I've seen because of the defensive liabilities and the circus that comes with it. We haven't heard a lot from LeVar Ball in the past couple of years, but if LaMelo goes in the top 5, and likely he will, I think he comes back out and we start to see him a little bit more. And is LaMelo affected by that? I'm not sure, and I'm not convinced that his game is just NBA transferable so easily that he makes that transition without some bumps and bruises along the way. But I think Halliburton is one of the best options out there. I think Obi Toppin is another guy, and you can't just look at positional fit and say we need this guy. If you're Ed Stefanski in the front office. It might end up being another power forward. It might end up being another center. And there might be some duplication between Sekou and Blake Griffin and everything else, or Christian Wood. But you just got to take the best piece that's there. And if you can, you take the best point guard. And this is a point guard heavy draft. So I think it works out for them in all aspects.
I'm going to nitpick Halliburton a little bit because I think back to a holiday tournament where, don't get me wrong, he killed my Alabama squad. He destroyed them. Played amazing, raining threes and passing the ball. Matter of fact, he was clowning on us. He was laughing at us.
However, get to the however.
He didn't strike me as an elite athlete of when you look at great players in this league, typically they stay above athletically. So that's his knock on him. He looks like a guy who does not look as if he has the explosiveness or the quick twitch athleticism that it really takes to get by in the league nowadays. Don't get me wrong, he's a smart player and he had a lot of basketball skill, but I don't know if his athleticism will allow him to be a major factor the next level. Obviously, he's going to I think he'll be the type of guy that might play 10, 15 years, but I don't know if he'll be a major factor.
He's a little Denzel Valentine-ish. I would agree.
What?
No. What? A combo guard with kind of slow feet, can't really get by guys consistently. Yeah, I see what he's saying.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. I watched that whole game, and again, he killed us, destroyed us. But that's as a person.
Me and James and Omari could kill Alabama.
Hey, Alabama as a point guard that's probably going to go in the first round, late first round. Kira Lewis, so don't sleep on it now. He was playing.
Here we go.
Yeah.
That's like a second round pick in this draft. I don't know.
In this draft, though, it's probably going to be a first round pick.
Bad.
Yeah, so saying.
I think it's real bad, Vince. I don't know, man. That's like pick 36 of any other draft.
Okay, well, I'm saying, quick. He got quicks. I'm telling you. Unlike Mr. Halliburton.
I haven't seen him. I don't know. I'm just talking.
I've seen him. He's quick. He's lightning quick.
I'm going to trust your Bama knowledge here. I'm not the
I can back Vince up on that one. He's got it.
He's got quick. I'm not saying he's going to be a player, but he's quick. He's quicker than Halliburton. That's all I'm saying.
That's true. The Grizzlies didn't have a second round pick, so I guess they had one. So I actually didn't look at any of the second round guys until
Pistons either. So you're good.
So. Okay, well, there we go.
Hey,
Kira Lewis is good. I'll find out this time next year.
I'm not saying he's good. I'm just saying he's quicker than Halliburton. That's all I'm saying. In the end, all that stuff.
So he's
I would also
check the tape.
I would also say that none of the point guards in the top 10 are athletic. Like, LaMelo's not a good athlete. People have the same questions about Killian Hayes about being too slow. So
yeah.
But think about LaMelo though. He's big though. So that's the thing.
Yeah,
though.
he's 6'7".
Yeah.
That's true.
All right, we're going to hit two more questions here just about the Pistons and then kind of into our fun questions. And so these are both some injury concern. These are fun. No, these are fun. I think that you guys will enjoy some of the ones remaining as well, though, even more. So, but yeah, we're having fun. This is a good time.
Yeah.
So first off, Luke Kennard, his knee issues. Should there be a lingering concern about his health moving forward? How should Pistons fans feel about him moving forward?
I would be more
Who wants
concerned
to
if
go?
it was like an ACL tear. I think, and it's still not good. Like it's an issue that he'll have to manage. Obviously, like, I don't know too many guys who have had those types of issues that magically overnight, never had those issues rare again. There was another Piston, I cannot remember who, that played for the team maybe 6-7 years ago that had the issues too. And, it's like the same dude. I cannot think of who I'm.
Reggie Jackson.
Well, Reggie too.
That's
Reggie
the one
too.
I'm thinking of.
Yeah. It was Reggie
That's
too.
the one.
I think it was somebody else, but yeah, Reggie obviously is a big one. I like Luke Kennard a lot. Just as a player, I think he improved a lot last year. I think as a secondary ball handler, the guy who's shooting 40% from three, generally is better to keep those guys. Even if you're only getting an average of 60 games a year from him, that's better than not having 60 games of a guy who can handle the ball a little bit and shoot 40% from three. I guess it just depends on how severe the issues are. But overall, I'll be more concerned if it were like a serious knee injury, like an ACL tear or something like that. Like, I think you're going to get some of Luke every year. It just depends on how severe it ends up being.
Yeah, I would say I think they are concerned. And I understand why for a 23-year-old to have chronic knee tendonitis like that, especially a guy that's kind of plays on the floor. And he's not the most athletic. He's not the fastest. He doesn't jump the highest. And for him to have knee issues, being that type of player, I think is a bit concerning. And I think it even goes back to a little bit in his college days, if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, you factor that in. Luke, like you said, Omari, he's a good player, really good player, has potential to be a good player. But for him to be 23 and that bad of knee tendonitis in both knees that he's been out since Christmas is concerning. And then also when you look at their timeline, again, if you pay Luke 15 to 18 million a year, whatever that number is he a guy that is that worth paying when you're not going to compete in that timeline?
Yeah, and I think the issue here is that it's tendonitis, which is a big non-specific. Like Omari said, if it was an ACL or something that you knew you could recover from and kind of be better and you didn't have to have the same issues, but tendonitis just doesn't go away. You don't cure it. You just lessen the pain a little bit. And as James said, too, when you're that young and you start to experience tendonitis the way that he is in both knees, it's concerning. And I just don't know how much of a future investment you want to put in that, or how heavy of a future investment you want to put in that with something that just isn't going to get better. It's just you can lessen the pain and mitigate the pain. But is he going to be the same type of shooter? Can he maintain that for another 8 to 10 years, maybe? That's the big question mark. And given that they were looking at trading him, I think that writing is on the wall of what they think about what his future could be. Is if you can get a first round pick for him, they'd be ready to deal him at that point.
Cool.
Yeah,
what do you think?
Vince, you don't want to hear what I think.
I know. I'm curious.
Yes, we do.
He's not Bruce Brown.
No, see, I don't know if I want to go out there hearing all the negativity going on.
Come on, cool.
Why?
That's realism. That's realism.
This is
Wait,
realism.
so you guys,
This is
wait, no, time
reality.
out. Stop. No, stop. Rod can call what you guys are just saying realism, but I bring up legitimate concerns about Christian Wood. And
Cool.
All right.
Tell me
Go
big.
ahead.
Tell us, cool.
all right, so obviously I'm not a doctor or anything, but
Really?
so
Thank you for clarifying.
Where does Shams go?
he played 73 games his first year, 63 games his second year. So obviously he played a lot his first year. Second year and third year, he's had some injuries, and obviously with the knee this year. But his second year was a shoulder injury, so it wasn't related to his knee. So it wasn't like it was hurting him his second year either. But obviously they believe that it's a legitimate concern. They wouldn't have been trying to trade him at the trade deadline, or the rumors wouldn't have started about them possibly shipping him, who was it, Phoenix, for like a first rounder and like a Kobo or whatever. But I'm not as concerned about his I'm with Omari with what he said. I'm not as concerned as everybody else seems to be about his injuries right now. Obviously it raises like an eyebrow. Obviously you have to pay attention to it, but I'm not as concerned as everybody else seems to be about it. And I think Luke's a really good player. I think he took a big step this year before he got hurt. And
All sample size.
If we're talking sample sizes.
All right, that's fine. That's fine. Even if you look at the player he was before this season, the trajectory was going the right way, and the type of player he is a really good player. He's a good ball. He's a nice ball handler. He can create for himself. And by the way, I don't know if this is going to be like a question you bring up, Dustin, but I have to say this. A lot of people are like saying that Svi's on Luke's level. He isn't. Luke is a good ball handler. He can find open guys in the pick and roll when he runs his little off the dribble handoff pick and rolls. He can find the open guy if defense is keying on him. He's a really good shooter. He can create for himself. Obviously, he struggles a little bit on defense. I actually think he's been better on defense than a lot of people thought he'd be coming into the league. But he still obviously isn't like amazing over there. But yeah, I'm not as concerned about him, and I would be okay with re-signing him when his time came up. But if they don't, then obviously I understand why they did it because of the injury concerns. But me personally, I wouldn't have an issue with bringing him back. Also,
you give him $20 million a year? Cool.
No,
how much?
No.
15?
Yeah, around 15. Around 15, 16, 17.
One thing I'll say is just to keep an eye on when it gets to that point with Luke, I think there's going to be, if he goes, there's going to be probably discrepancy in the value between the two sides. And that could ultimately lead to why he's gone. I think when Ed says he likes Luke, I think he likes Luke. He said it publicly. But, I mean, you like every player until a certain price amount, you know what I mean? And I think that's the thing that people aren't really seeing in this is, yes, he likes Luke, and Luke is a good player. But to be kind of a ground-bound player with knee tendonitis and wanting X amount of dollars, then you have to factor in too many different things other than just being a good player.
So, James, I have to ask you something then.
Please.
Yeah, I'm sure you're excited.
Cool, you're my guy. I'm just curious.
Yeah, I know, even though you're still ducking that hoop session, but it's all right. We can continue on.
Dude, we're in quarantine. What are you talking about?
No, you were ducking it way before then. But either way, so you mentioned this timeline with Luke and him being 23, paying him, etc., not really matching up with the Pistons. So I just have a question. So how does Luke not match up with the Pistons timeline at 23, but Christian Wood, who's going to be 25 at the start of next season, how does he match up? About what did you say? You said you'd pay him 15. How does he match up?
I think Christian's cheaper, and a stretch big is a little harder to find than what Luke's specialty is. So you're all the way in belief that Christian Wood is a legit stretch big now. I think the potential is there to be one. Yes. All right. Hey, that's it.
I love getting cool in here. I do. I
just think that we're all a little bit happy go jolly a little bit over Christian Wood. That's all.
Go jolly.
Happy go jolly.
Chris is actually watching the stream right now, so I don't know if you want to keep talking about him, but
he's like he doesn't really, won't really get too hurt about this kind of thing. So hey, it is what it is.
He started stuttering. He's scared.
No.
Yeah, he is.
There he is. He stuttered a little bit. Got him, Rod. Got him.
I said it. This was on my YouTube. I like him. He's a nice player.
He's shook.
If you're trying to make me pay him over $12 million, I'm not.
Hey, Rod, I know you got shook ones somewhere nearby. Start playing it.
I'm saying.
I would just say to Koo, Luke's sample size isn't large either, but you're willing to give him $15 million.
No. See, that's just false. I literally
You just said 15.
I literally.
So Sekou, how much are you giving Sekou? Talk about sample sizes.
No, this is the difference, James. The difference is that we have a large sample size of Christian Wood being a very bad shooter. We have a very large sample before this season that Luke Kennard is a very good shooter, and even last year before, even his second season, he was showing signs of being a good secondary ball handler. That is completely different than some guy being a bad shooter his whole life, then one season becoming a really good shooter, and now we're calling him Dirk.
Cool. Christian played 40 games before this year. He barely played.
No, what are you talking? No, even if you go to his G League games, like if you go through everything he's played,
We're scouting G League games now?
I mean, you don't have to scout it. You can just go look at his.
Say Facebook Live. If you say Facebook Live,
you can just go to his box scores what he shot in the G League.
I mean, like I think people ganging up on Koo is worth the price of admission tonight. Like, y'all killing him. I love it.
I'm not the hero everybody wants right now, but I'm the hero they deserve. That's all that is.
The villain they deserve.
The villain is villain.
Okay, so real quick, let's talk Blake Griffin a little bit. Fans are asking about him. You know, we're all wondering, you know, what are we going to get from him next year? He's going to enter another offseason, healthy, try and get back to, you know, whatever form he can get back to. What's the optimism level for him? What's the outlook for him now?
I think at this point, it's just, yeah, I mean, I think at this point, it's just letting him get back. You know, I think anytime you have a knee injury, you know, you can never say with certainty, you know, especially with his history. But hey, thanks to the pandemic, he'll have extra time to get himself right. So, you know, maybe that helps. And overall, you know, I don't think there's much urgency. I think if the goal is to be bad and Blake can't live up to his deal, then that helps you be bad and get better draft picks. And if he, you know, starts playing up to the deal again and he's good next season, then it makes it easier to move him. So either way, it's going to help you go one way or another. So, you know, you probably don't need to make a decision on him until next summer at the earliest.
Let's just say this. He's not going to be all NBA like he was last year. And once you get that out of the way, you don't have unrealistic expectations for what he can be again. So fans are going to say he sucks or he's not this or he's not that. Last year was very much a flash in the pan, and it was wonderful to see. But I don't think anybody thought he was that good, and I don't think anybody thinks he's going to be that good again. Maybe, and I'm sure he does. But if you don't have those expectations, then you won't be disappointed that he doesn't get back there, because it was superhuman what he was doing, getting them to the playoffs. And unfortunate that he couldn't play in the playoffs once he got them there. But I think it's just realistic that he might average 15, 18 points a game or something like that and be a good facilitator for them again. But he's not going to be superhuman like he was last season.
I would disagree with Rod a little bit in the sense that I think Kumi and you might have talked about this.
Yep.
I'm going to give Blake the benefit of the doubt, because he's one of those guys that gets listed as injury-prone player. Like, you hear that. But you really can't name me another injury-prone player that's always come back from an injury to play as good or better than before. I mean, we can name countless injuries.
Reggie Jackson.
Guys. Oh, okay. Besides Reggie, I'm going to give Blake the benefit of the doubt that he'll come back and be as good. Will he? I don't know. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt because we can name countless serious injuries he's undergone, and he's always come back, been all NBA, or he's come back and been an all-star. And I think that's he's one of the more interesting cases in that regard, because anytime you talk about an injury-prone player, it's like, oh, what could their career have been? What would have happened if this guy didn't get injured like that? Well, Blake's always kind of defied the odds, and I think it's kind of one of a kind in a sense.
Yeah,
and he's only 30 too. You know, like we talk about Blake like he's 33 sometimes, but you know,
I would say this though, and actually I kind of agree with James, but Father Time eventually wins though.
No, I agree. I'm gonna give the benefit of the doubt though.
I agree with James. Like James said, we did just talk about this last week, me and him. But actually, I didn't think about this until he brought it up. But yeah, I actually disagree with what Rod said about a flash in the pan. But I'll get to that after I talk about what James said. James is right. He's come back. He's had a lot of injuries, and each time he comes back, it's not like he comes back. Like, for example, you guys like to troll me about how, like, I'm a D Rose fan. So let's just use him as an example. Let's just use him as an example because it's like an easy example. It's just an easy example. So, like, he got hurt. Obviously, he never got back to the heights that he was at. And it took him a long time. Like, it took, like, 4 or 5 years for him just to get back to being a quality player. Because, like, he was close to being out the league. So if you look at Blake always comes back, and he's always like close to all NBA player, all-star worthy player. Like he's always getting back to that level.
I think one of the things with Blake, like so much of his success last year was based on that three-point shot. Whether that's replicatable or not is going to go a long way towards whether Blake is basically like viewed as a broken down or there's a new Blake that we saw a year ago. If he's not hitting the three, we're gonna have, I think, widely he's going to be seen a lot more like he was this year than last. I think so much hinges upon that 3-pointer, and he had a full season's worth of sample if we're gonna go with sample size. But three-point shooting in particular is one of those things that takes a long time to sort of coalesce as to whether you can rely on it or not. And 2 years removed now, with all the additional beating on that knee, he wasn't getting the kind of lift just to shoot that three this past season. This season that is now perhaps on the verge of getting wiped out or shortened at the very least. So that's the big thing to me. Like, the athleticism isn't what it used to be, and if the 3-point shooting isn't there, I don't really know what there is to look forward to with him as far as the fandom goes.
Agreed.
All right, now to the conclusion of this episode here. Vince, I got a perfect question to start the fun questions out with. Favorite restaurants in Metro Detroit, Vince? What you got? Give it to us.
That's a tough one. Caught me off guard. Well, I guess it depends on what I want. Obviously, barbecue, Vicky's Barbecue. I took Omari there. And my boy John Elligo, who works for the New York Times. He was in town to do something on Detroit's response to the COVID-19 situation. And I thought it would be a good time for to fellowship a little bit on my back porch. Omari and John and I, we all practice social distancing guidelines. So it wasn't, it was cool. It would have been Detroit approved. And so we had a good time chopping it up. So I would say barbecue, Vicky's, which is my favorite food. So that would ergo make it one of my favorite restaurants in the city. But there are a lot of good places. And, just like for soul food, I love Southern Fires or Beans and Cornbread in Southfield. Another good spot. For pizza, I love Louis in Hazel Park. I'd have to like sit there and think about it, but off the top of my head, those are the ones that popped in my head. Solid Thai in the Eastern Market. I love going there for Thai food. Detroit has a great dining scene, and I enjoy it immensely. I really enjoy it. As a matter of fact, that and the gym are the two things I miss the most about this what we're going through right now.
I'll cheat a little bit. I'll go outside of Metro Detroit and say Real Seafood Company in Ann Arbor has just
good spot.
Wonderful everything. But in Detroit, in downtown Detroit, Vicente's Cuban Cuisine is a nice little tucked-in spot that has very good Cuban cuisine. And it's hidden. Not a lot of people know about it, but a very nice menu. You can sit outside in the summertime if we can. But yeah, those are just a couple.
Oh, the cheeseburger at Miller's Bar in Dearborn. Oh, my God. When I eat the cheeseburger at Miller's Bar in Dearborn, I think back to, like, this is what a cheeseburger tasted like when the first dude thought that, you know what? Bread, hamburger, cheese, that'll be a pretty good combination. That's what it tasted like when you go to Miller's Bar. So those are just some of the things that just run in my head. And I'm going to shut up now because I can talk about this in the next hour.
Zoshi Milko in Southwest Detroit is one of my favorite spots, easily. You get cheese melting on top of the burritos, and it's fire. Vicky's Pizza, like, it's not always consistent, but the feta cheese pizza there, like when they make it right, is my favorite pizza in the city. better than Shields and Nicky's. And there's some other new Detroit spots that I haven't been to. Like, I swear they've added 8,000 restaurants in the city since I left for college 8 years ago. So all the new spots I've done.
When we're allowed to go, right? You're gonna try them all, right, Omari?
I'm gonna try them all. I really haven't been to any of them. You said Southern Fires, but Southern Fires is a classic. There's a hood Chinese food spot on 7 Mile and Telegraph that is
Fire.
my favorite Chinese food spot in the city. And I tried getting to some yesterday, and their phone line is down. So if they close, I'm gonna be hurt. I'm hoping they're just shut down.
I think they are.
Because if they don't come back, then I'm like, it's gonna hurt.
You might have to do a drive-by. Just do a drive-by.
Might have to.
That's self-isolation.
Yeah. No, I might have to. Like, I feel bad because I read that, you know.
So,
like,
James, tell us about your taco love. What's your taco spot in Metro Detroit? Man? We know you got them.
I mean, you guys know next to Nicky's, Locos. I miss
Loco
that
Tacos.
Locos. I mean, what else do I like? I'm trying to think. I like
Little Caesars.
Shangri-La. Nobody gave Shangri-La some love.
Shangri-La's good. Another good spots in my neighborhood.
And
Ima. You love your Ima spot, right? Ima?
I was trying to keep it off the chains, but Ima, yeah. And what's that burrito spot next to those lofts in Midtown? I can't remember what it's.
I know what you're talking about now. It's right there because it's right next beside Avalon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't think of the name of that spot. It is good.
Good burritos there, yeah. That's it for me right now at the top of my head.
There's this pizza place. It's fairly close to Little Caesars. Motor City Brewing Works. It's pizza and microbrew. The pizza is really good. The beer is pretty good. That place and Green Dot Stables are like the two places right now that just like immediately popped into my head. Green Dot has great sliders. Like, I have a
Green Dot's great.
Yeah, their menu is pretty expansive, I think. So yeah, those are the very first two places that popped into my head on that question. Recommend both.
Sweetwater too.
Yeah.
I live around the corner from Motor City Brewing Works, and I actually got takeout from there. I want to say either last weekend or the weekend before last. So it is a good spot, and they are open now. So shout out to all those restaurants that are still open, feeding us when we get our takeout for our takeout fix.
Yeah.
Green Dot
Heroes.
Stables is where I first met
Heroes.
Vince.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's when he realized. That's when he realized I wasn't an asshole.
Yeah, I gotta say before
we all found a spot where we learned that. Yeah.
Because me and Joe asked him to go out and talk Pistons with us, whatever. And I'll be honest, like beforehand, I was like, man, that man Vince sounds like a mean guy over this Twitter, man. He might show up and be a mean guy. But that man Vince showed up immediately. I got him confused with the teddy bear. He went to go out to her fly.
It's Twitter tough.
Yeah. Everybody who knew Vince on Twitter first thinks he's an asshole, and then you meet him in person, and you're like, "Who was that guy?"
Funny story. Me and Vince had each other blocked for a period of time. I thought he hated my guts, and I thought I hated his guts as well. So there was like a few months where I just was blocked by Vince Ellis, and now it's like he's a nice guy, you know. I would hang out with him.
Who knew?
Who would have thought? Okay, we're gonna ask one more question. Wrap it all up here. Rod, you got this question on your Twitter feed today. You kind of answered a little bit, but best of 7 game series, Bad Boys versus Going to Work Pistons. Who wins? What's the series like? Someone jump it. Rod, you want to go first since you already talked about it?
Yeah, I'll say Bad Boys. I like their bench just a bit more, and they I think they would just shut him. I think they would shut him down. And
Chauncey would feed Isaiah.
Chauncey would be guarded by Joseph Dumars.
He would feed Joe Dumars.
Okay.
They love Isaiah. I like to mess with them. Chauncey would give Isaiah 50. Take him to the post.
Isaiah dropped 25 on one leg. What the hell are you talking about, man?
He's going to need them both.
I guess Michael Cooper was defending him, bruh.
Isaiah was faking.
Oh, okay. All right.
Be careful what you say, James. We got Duncan on here, so there's a fair chance Isaiah sees this. So be careful. Careful now.
Important question: are these 1989-90 rules or 03-04 rules?
I think it's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
What we go with today's rules?
No, 89-90. 89-90 rules.
Okay.
89-90. All right, then I'll get to the bad boys because you could just body slam people and get like a tap on the wrist. So yeah, I'm sure.
Hold up. You go back and look at that Trailblazers series, okay? You go back and look at how many points the bad boys put on the Blazers that series. They were more than just a bunch of body slamming dudes. They had skill. Y'all need to get that right now.
But they would resort to that when teams gave them fits, and I think otherwise, the 04 Pistons would give them fits. So if they're playing under their rules, then I think that they're going to be in good shape. If you could just push Rip Hamilton somewhere coming off of a screen and not get attacked, then yeah.
That's the way basketball played back then. The Celtics played that way. Larry Bird and the Celtics rough and tumble like that as well. But everybody gives the Pistons that moniker as being some dirty, awful team. But the Celtics played
because
that way.
they branded it.
They did it.
Bad
They
boys.
learned it from the Celtics because the Celtics did that stuff too.
Who's guarding Rasheed?
I was going to say the
That's
matchup.
the question.
It's not the guard matchup, but the Sheed and Mahorn matchup. I would watch entirely just by itself. I need a camera just dedicated to Sheed Mahorn. That's it.
And I love Rick with all my heart. Barbecue chicken.
Yeah, Rasheed would beat him.
Barbecue chicken.
I will say this about Sheed. Sheed had the talent to be one of the top 15 players of all time. Was he?
But that
was because of a certain desire and stuff and everything. So that I don't know, it wasn't necessarily important enough to Rasheed to be a top 15 player of all time. So I'll go with the pretty grimy guys over Rasheed. I'm just sorry. That's the way it works.
But we're talking about Sheed on that Pistons team, which was Sheed at his absolute professionalism peak.
So to your point, James, I think Mahorn would see that he would be overmatched, and he would drag, grab, pull, do everything else to make sure and try to get in Rasheed's head and just body him up. I think that would be fascinating stuff to watch.
I agree. I would like a Sheed Mahorn camp. I'm gonna tell Rick that I think Sheed will give him buckets. I'm gonna see what he says.
he will cuss you out immediately. You will get cussed out immediately.
I'm gonna call him.
Come on, guys. Rodman would play the whole series.
Oh, I forgot about Rodman over Ben.
Oof.
Let's take it easy.
This is a tough one.
Hold on.
Easy.
That would be
telling y'all, Zeke would just cook all them.
Zeke would not cook Chauncey.
He would cook Chauncey.
He would not cook Chauncey.
He would cook Chauncey.
He would not. He would not cook Chauncey.
Millennials, man. Let me tell you, bro.
Who has Isaiah Thomas's phone number? Who's got it? Let's just text him right now.
I would assume.
I don't have it, obviously.
I think Duncan can give his reaction fastest.
I don't know. I'm probably muted.
I just have a hard time picking a team that their best dribble is behind the back.
Oh, here we go.
I mean, James is telling the truth here.
Here we go.
Millennials, man. Millennials.
The 3-point line was like 8 years old when the Bad Boys won their first championship. Like I think Chauncey would drop 8 threes just because they wouldn't be defending them out that far.
Here's the thing, though. You don't think Isaiah Thomas, if he came along today, he would have added the 3-point shot to his game?
No, you can't do that.
I mean, I think he would.
What? That 3-point shot went in. It was funny when it was clutch time. That 3-point shot went in.
No, this is why you can't do that, because you literally just said that we're playing underneath the 89 rule. So if we're doing that, then that doesn't happen.
Hot take: they're better in the modern rules, the Bad Boys.
Okay.
I think you're going to work Pistons. Just shoot them out of the gym in the 89 rules. They get doubles off Chauncey and Sheed and Rip, and it's just a problem. They don't know what they're doing. I think Isaiah is just roasting people nowadays.
Yeah.
Man,
Give
you can't hand check Isaiah, man. Come on, man.
I would just say I just watched the 04 game 2, and I used to think that the going to work team could play in today's era, man, I don't know. They scored 68 points or something like that.
But that being said,
there was a lot of those games.
I will say this though, Chauncey Billups unleashed without being hand checked too, man.
Yes.
Come on now, dude. That would free him up some. So,
but then you look at it, that team didn't really have 3-point shooters. They had Chauncey, Sheed, and Mehmet. They might get shot out of gyms nowadays.
Yeah, Rip
So
was
if they had
shooting
Melo-
threes until later.
Yeah, it was
Don't say if they had
later.
Darko could shoot a little bit.
in Europe.
Darko
Darko
is
was the
Darko.
best player.
You don't know who
He threw
Darko
the
is?
cup into the trash can when
On the farm right now. That's what he's doing. He's shooting a thing of cabbage in a trash can on the farm. That's what he's doing. I know. All right, guys. Well, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. We're an hour in after saying 30 minutes, so I think it was a great and fun conversation. I kind of want to end it here with, like we said, and reiterate we said at the very beginning, anyone who's struggling with the coronavirus and with a loved one affected by it right now, we are praying for you guys, and you're in our thoughts, and we hope that America as a whole just stays safe and we can get through this together. Guys, thank you so much for joining. I don't know if you guys want to have any last remarks. Everyone at once say hooray. I don't know if anyone wants to say anything.
I'll say Dustin and Cool, you guys did a really good job of pulling this together. And this was just something impromptu that we discussed very shortly yesterday. And those guys spent some time last night putting all the particulars and details together. So they took an idea and made it into what you guys saw today, what fans saw and viewers saw today. And it was very good. I had a very good time. And I think you guys just deserve some credit for that.
hey, I would like to say, you know what? Let's all, James, Rod, even you guys, as soon as this shit's over, man, let's all get together and break bread and have some drinks, man. I know I can't wait till we're allowed to do that again. I can't wait.
You know any good restaurants?
Let's do it.
I know a few, so we can do it. Chop it up again, man.
Cool. Yeah.
All right, guys. All right. Thank you, guys. We'll end it here.
All right. Appreciate it, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.
That's great.